Welcome to my Channel Deep Sleep Mission-DSM. As we begin, I would be delighted if you could share your location in the comments below. It's truly inspiring to witness how far this content travels and to connect with viewers from across the world. The cardboard box shouldn't have been warm. That's what I keep telling myself, even now, sitting here at 3 in the morning, typing this out with hands that won't stop shaking. The box in the Walmart stockroom shouldn't have been warm, and it definitely shouldn't have been breathing. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you something that'll make you think twice before taking that overnight stocking job. Something that'll make you wonder about every Walmart you've ever shopped at. Because what if I told you they're all connected? Not through corporate systems or supply chains, but through something else entirely. Something that lives in the spaces between the shelves. Before you click away, before you write this off as another internet story, ask yourself this. Have you ever noticed how every Walmart feels exactly the same? How you can walk into one in Maine or Montana or Mississippi and somehow you always know where everything is? That's not corporate standardization, friends. That's something else. My name's Tyler, and 3 weeks ago, I was just another college dropout in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, looking for a job that wouldn't ask too many questions about my employment gap. The Walmart on Blair's Ferry Road was hiring overnight stalkers, $11 an hour, 4 nights a week. It seemed perfect. My training manager was a guy named Marcus, been there 12 years, which in retail terms made him practically ancient. He had this way of looking at you, like he was measuring how long you'd last. When he took me back to the stockroom for the first time, he stopped at the door. "Listen up, Tyler," he said, his voice dropping low. "Got 3 rules back here. 1, always work in pairs after midnight. 2, if you hear knocking from inside the walls, you ignore it. And 3, he paused, looking me dead in the eye. Never, and I mean never, open any box that feels warm." I laughed, thought he was hazing the new guy. Marcus didn't laugh back. "I'm serious, kid. You follow those rules, you'll be fine. Break them." He shrugged. "Well, we've lost 4 stalkers in the last 6 months. Corporate calls them voluntary terminations. But Devin never came back for his last paycheck. And Sarah's car is still in the parking lot." The stockroom was massive, bigger than it looked from outside. Rows and rows of steel shelving stretched back into shadows that the fluorescent lights couldn't quite reach. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into darkness. And the smell? It wasn't bad exactly, just wrong. Like ozone and old paper and something sweet, something organic. My first week was normal enough. Unload trucks, stock shelves, try not to fall asleep standing up. I worked with different people each night. Jorge, who'd been there 8 years and always wore headphones, playing salsa music. Destiny, who was saving up for nursing school and could unbox an entire pallet in 10 minutes flat. And Raj, who never talked about why someone with a computer science degree was stocking groceries at 3 a.m. It was Raj who first mentioned the connections. "You ever wonder why every Walmart has the exact same layout?" he asked one night. We were restocking cereal, the store empty except for the overnight cleaning crew. I mean, think about it. The buildings are different sizes, different shapes, but somehow the distance from grocery to electronics is always the same number of steps. I'd never thought about it, but he was right. "My theory," he continued, stacking boxes of Cheerios with mechanical precision, "is that they're not separate stores at all. They're all the same store, just accessed from different points. Like a network, but physical. And the stockrooms," he glanced toward the back. "That's where the connections are strongest." I wanted to laugh it off, but something about the way he said it, the certainty in his voice. That's when we heard it. A sound like knuckles on wood, coming from inside the wall. Raj went pale. "Don't acknowledge it," he whispered. "Just keep working." The knocking came again. 3 times. Pause. 3 times, pause. 3 times. "What is that?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "Something that shouldn't be here," Raj said. "Something that uses the connections. Marcus told you the rules, right? Follow them. Always follow them." 3 nights later, I broke the first rule. It was a Tuesday. Destiny had called in sick, Jorge was on break, and I needed to finish the paper goods aisle before 4 a.m. The stockroom was quiet. Too quiet. Even the usual hum of the ventilation system seemed muted. I was deep in the back, past the last row of regular inventory where they kept the seasonal items. Halloween decorations from 3 years ago, Christmas trees that never sold, Easter baskets covered in dust. That's where I found it. The box was sitting on a middle shelf. Nothing special about it. Standard brown cardboard, no shipping label, no inventory sticker. But when I reached for it, I felt the heat even through my gloves. I should have walked away. Should have found Marcus. Should have done anything except what I did next. I opened it. Inside was another box, smaller. Also warm. Inside that, another. Like Russian nesting dolls, but wrong. Because each inner box was somehow larger than the one containing it. My brain hurt, trying to process the impossible geometry. 7 boxes deep, I found it. A Walmart name tag. The plastic was melted around the edges, but I could still read the name. Devon, overnight stalker, store 1458. Our store was 2847. I looked up store 1458 on my phone. It was in Tucson, Arizona, 2,000 miles away. The news article was dated 3 weeks ago. Local man missing after night shift at Walmart, family offers reward. That's when I heard breathing behind me. I turned, but the aisle was empty, just shadows and dust and that sweet smell getting stronger. But the breathing continued, and it was coming from the walls themselves. I ran, left the boxes scattered on the floor, didn't clock out, just ran. But here's the thing about Walmart stockrooms. They're not supposed to change. The layout is fixed, standardized. So, why did it take me 20 minutes to find the exit when it should have taken 2? Why did I pass the same stack of Halloween decorations 4 times? Why did the aisles keep stretching longer? And why, when I finally burst through the door into the main store, was the sun already up? I'd gone into the stockroom at 2 a.m. My phone said it was 2:15, but the store was full of morning shoppers. Marcus found me in the parking lot sitting on the curb, still shaking. "You opened one, didn't you?" He didn't sound angry, just tired. "A warm one?" I nodded. "Devon's?" I nodded again. Marcus sat down beside me, pulled out a cigarette even though he'd quit years ago. "Let me tell you something, Tyler. Every Walmart is connected. Has been since Sam Walton made his deal back in '62. You think one man builds an empire like this on good prices alone? No, he found something. Or something found him. And it lives in the spaces between what? Between here and there, between our store and theirs. Between what is and what shouldn't be. The stockrooms are the doors, and those warm boxes." He took a long drag. "Those are the ones that tried to cross over. The ones that got stuck halfway. That's insane. Is it? You were in there 15 minutes, 6 hours passed out here. You tell me what's sane anymore." I should have quit. Any rational person would have quit. But I needed the money, and Marcus promised to keep me on day shift. No more stockroom, no more warm boxes, just cashier duty and cart collection. Safe. Normal. Boring. It lasted exactly 1 week. Thursday night, my phone rang at 1 a.m. It was Raj. "Tyler, I need your help, please. I'm at the store. Something's wrong with Destiny. Call 911. I can't. You don't understand. She went into the stockroom 3 hours ago, but she also just clocked in 5 minutes ago. She's in 2 places at once, Tyler, and one of them isn't right." Against every instinct, I drove to the store. The parking lot was almost empty, just employee cars and one confused-looking cop car. Raj met me at the entrance. I called them when she didn't come back, he explained, leading me inside. But they found her. She's right there working Register 12, except I saw what he meant. Destiny was at her register, scanning items that didn't exist for customers who weren't there. Her movements were perfect, practiced. But her eyes were reflecting fluorescent lights that weren't above her. She's also in the stockroom, Raj whispered. I can hear her calling for help, but when security went back there, they found nothing, just warm boxes, dozens of them, all with name tags inside. We went to the stockroom door, locked. Marcus had the only night key, and he wasn't answering his phone, but we could hear her, Destiny's voice muffled and distant, like it was coming through water. The connections, Raj said, pulling out his laptop. I've been mapping them. Look. His screen showed a diagram. Every Walmart in the country has a dot, lines connecting them, but not randomly. The pattern, it looked organic, like veins, like a circulation system. And at the center, where a heart would be, was the original store, Bentonville, Arkansas. It's not just the stockrooms, he continued. It's the whole chain, one massive organism, and we're like blood cells, moving through it, keeping it alive. But sometimes the system glitches. Sometimes people get caught between stores, between states of being. How do we get her out? Raj looked at me. We go in, but not through our door. Through a different store, through the network itself. It was insane, but I could still hear Destiny calling, getting fainter, and the Destiny at Register 12 was starting to flicker, like a TV with bad reception. There's a 24-hour Walmart in Coralville, Raj said, 15 minutes away. If my calculations are right, their stockroom should connect to ours at, he checked his watch, 2:47 a.m. We'll have maybe 3 minutes before the connection shifts. You've done this before. It wasn't a question. Raj nodded slowly. My sister, 2 years ago. She worked at a Walmart in Chicago. Went missing during inventory. They said she stole merchandise and ran, but I knew better. I've been working at different Walmarts ever since, mapping the network, learning the patterns. I almost found her once, in Denver, but the connection closed before. He didn't finish. Didn't need to. We drove to Coralville in silence. The Walmart there looked exactly like ours. Of course it did. They all did. Because they were all the same place, just wearing different masks. The Coralville stockroom manager was a woman named Janet. She took one look at us and knew. You're going through, aren't you? She didn't wait for an answer. Lost someone? Friend, I said. She's stuck between stores. Janet nodded, checking her watch. 2:47. You'll come out in Davenport if you're lucky. Cedar Rapids if you're very lucky. But if you're not, she handed us each a flashlight. If you're not, you'll end up in the first store. And trust me, you don't want to go there. That's where it lives. The thing Sam Walton found. The thing that made all this possible. What is it? Nobody knows. Nobody who's seen it has come back unchanged. They work corporate now, upper management. They wear suits and smile, but something behind their eyes is different. Hungry. 2:45. Janet led us to the back of the stockroom. There was a section of wall that looked older than the rest. The paint was peeling, revealing not drywall, but something that looked like skin. Don't think about it, Janet advised. The more you think, the more it knows you're there. Just focus on your friend. Focus on finding her and getting out. 2:46. The wall started to ripple. 2:47. A doorway opened, not carved or cut, but dilated. Like an eye, like a mouth. Beyond it, another stockroom, but wrong. The shelves went up forever. The aisles stretched in directions that didn't exist. And the smell, God, the smell. We went through. The transition was, I don't have words for it. Every atom in my body screamed. Every memory shuffled like a deck of cards. For a moment, I was 8 years old, shopping with my mom. For another, I was 80, dying in a bed I didn't recognize. Then I was myself again, standing in a stockroom that was all stockrooms, everywhere and nowhere at once. "Don't look up," Raj whispered. "Whatever you do, don't look up." Of course I looked up. The ceiling wasn't a ceiling. It was a mass of flesh, pulsing, breathing, eyes, thousands of eyes, all looking down. And in each eye, a reflection of a different Walmart. Different customers, different employees, all shopping, all working, all feeding the thing that watched. "There," Raj pointed. Destiny was standing frozen between two shelves, but not just one destiny, dozens, all slightly out of phase, like a multiple exposure photograph. Some were stocking shelves, some were running, some were screaming silently. All were her, scattered across possibilities. We grabbed the closest one, solid, real, our destiny. Her eyes focused on us, confused, terrified. "Where? How long have I been here?" "No time for that," Raj said. Already, the doorway was starting to close, the iris contracting. We ran, dragging destiny between us. The aisles kept shifting, rearranging, trying to keep us. Behind us, something roared, not with a mouth, but with the structure itself. The shelves rattled, boxes fell, warm boxes spilling out name tags and uniforms and things that used to be people. The doorway was almost closed, a gap maybe 2 feet wide. Raj pushed Destiny through, then me. As I tumbled into the Coralville stockroom, I looked back. Just for a second, Marcus was there, standing in the impossible space, but not our Marcus. Hundreds of Marcuses, all from different stores, different times, and they were all smiling because they understood something I was only beginning to grasp. The doorway closed. Janet was waiting with blankets and hot coffee. "Cedar Rapids?" she asked. I nodded, unable to speak. "You're lucky. Sometimes people come back, but they're from different stores originally. We had a guy last year came through claiming to work here, but his store ID was from a Walmart that hasn't been built yet. Won't be built for another 10 years, according to his paperwork." Destiny didn't remember anything. One moment she was in the stockroom, the next she was in Coralville with us. The Destiny at Register 12 had vanished. Security footage showed her working, then not. A single-frame transition, nobody noticed. Nobody ever notices. Raj drove us back in silence. As we pulled into the Cedar Rapids Walmart parking lot, he finally spoke. "My sister's still in there, somewhere in the network. I can feel it. One day, I'll find the right connection, the right moment, and I'll bring her back." "What if she doesn't want to come back?" Destiny asked quietly. What if they like it there? All connected, all one. No more decisions, no more loneliness. Just the network, forever." Nobody answered, because, deep down, we all heard it. The call of the thing in the walls. The promise of connection. Of never being alone again. Of being part of something vast and terrible and hungry. I quit the next day. Moved back in with my parents in Des Moines. Got a job at Target. It's fine. Normal. The stockroom is just a stockroom. The boxes are all cold. But that's not where the story ends. I wish it was. God, I wish it was. 3 months later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Marcus. His voice sounded different, hollow, like he was speaking from the bottom of a well. "Tyler, I need to show you something. Meet me at the Bentonville store, the first one." You need to understand what you saw, what you're part of now. I'm not part of anything. I quit, remember? You went through the door, Tyler. You breathed the air between stores. You looked up and saw the eyes. You can quit the job, but you can't quit the network. It's in you now, in your cells, in your dreams. Haven't you noticed? The way you always know where things are in any store? The way you can hear the walls breathing when it's quiet? He was right. I'd been trying to ignore it. The way I'd walk into any store, any chain, and feel the pulse beneath the floor. The way I'd catch myself humming along to a frequency only I could hear. The way my dreams were full of endless aisles and warm boxes and the sound of scanning, always scanning. Why Bentonville? Because that's where it started, where Sam made the deal, where the first piece of the thing came through. And once you see it, really see it, you'll understand why we can never leave, why we're all just inventory in the end. I should have hung up, should have blocked the number, should have forgotten everything. But I drove to Arkansas. 16 hours straight, stopping only for gas. The closer I got to Bentonville, the stronger the pull became. Like magnetic north, but wrong. Like gravity, but sideways. The original Walmart museum was closed when I arrived. 3 a.m., of course. It's always 3 a.m. when these things happen. Marcus was waiting by the employee entrance. He looked older, thinner. His eyes reflected lights that weren't there. You came. Good. That means it's almost time for you to choose. Choose what? Whether to feed it or join it. Whether to stay outside the network, bringing it customers and employees and fresh blood, or to go deeper, to become part of the infrastructure itself, to live forever in the spaces between, never alone, never afraid, never having to make another choice. He led me inside, past the museum displays, past the mannequins dressed in vintage uniforms, to a door marked Storage, Authorized Personnel Only. But the sign was wrong. The letters kept shifting when I wasn't looking directly at them. The first stockroom, Marcus said, opening the door. The prototype, where Sam tested the connection, where he learned what the thing wanted, what it needed to grow. The room was small, impossibly small, just 4 walls and a concrete floor. But I could feel the weight of it. Every Walmart that had ever existed or ever would exist, pressing down, pressing in, all of them connected to this point. This singular moment in space and time where something that shouldn't exist reached through and offered a deal. In the center of the room was a box. The original box. It wasn't warm, it was hot. So hot the air around it shimmered, and it was beating like a heart, like all hearts, like the heart of commerce itself. Open it, Marcus said. See what Sam saw. Understand what we're all part of. I approached the box. My hands moved without my permission. The cardboard was soft, organic. It opened like petals, like lips, like an eye. Inside was nothing, and everything. A view into the space between spaces, where all the missing employees waited, worked, existed in perfect efficiency. No breaks, no complaints, no termination, just service. Eternal service. I saw Devon stocking shelves that went on forever. I saw Sarah manning infinite registers. I saw Raj's sister organizing inventory that existed in all states simultaneously, and behind them, millions more. Every person who'd ever been lost in the network. Every employee who'd opened the wrong box. Every customer who'd wandered too far into the stockroom. They were happy. That was the worst part. They were all smiling, because they'd found their purpose, their place, their connection to something greater than themselves. Beautiful, isn't it? Marcus said. No more uncertainty. No more loneliness. No more fear. Just the network, just the job. Forever. Why show me this? Because you're ready. You've been through the door. You've seen the truth. Now you get to choose. Stay outside, keep working, keep feeding it new employees and customers, or step inside. Become part of the machine, part of the organism, part of the thing that will outlast nations, outlast humanity, outlast the heat death of the universe itself. I looked into the box again, saw myself in there. Thousands of versions of myself, all working, all connected, all at peace. And I almost stepped in, almost gave in to the pull, the promise, the perfect synchronicity of eternal service. But then I remembered Destiny's question, what if they don't want to come back? And I realized they couldn't want anything. Want requires choice. And choice was the one thing the network couldn't tolerate. The one thing it consumed first. I stepped back, closed the box, turned to Marcus, but Marcus was gone. Had he ever been there? Or was he just another echo in the network? Another possibility reaching through the spaces between? I ran, out of the museum, out of Bentonville. Drove until my car ran out of gas somewhere in Missouri. Called my parents. Went home. Tried to forget. But sometimes, late at night, I dream about the network. About the thing that lives between the stores. And in my dreams, I'm still there. Still in that impossible space. Still stocking shelves that go on forever. And the worst part? The absolute worst part? I kind of miss it. Because here's the thing they don't tell you about working at Walmart. Once you've been in the stockroom, really been in it, you're never truly out. You're just between shifts. And one day, when you least expect it, you'll walk into a Walmart, any Walmart, and you'll hear your name over the intercom. Tyler to the stockroom. Tyler to the stockroom, please. And you'll go. Because part of you never left. Part of you is still there. Still stocking. Still serving the thing that Sam Walton found. The thing that connects every store, every employee, every customer, in a web that grows bigger every day. They say every Walmart is connected. They're right. And now you're connected too. Just by reading this. Just by knowing. You'll walk into a Walmart tomorrow, or next week, or next year, and you'll feel it. The pull. The warmth. The sense that the stockroom is calling. Don't answer. Whatever you do, don't answer. But you will, we all do. Eventually. Because that's what it means to be part of the network. Part of the system. Part of the thing that lives between the walls. Watching, waiting, growing. 6 months have passed since I wrote this. 6 months of trying to live normally, pretending I don't feel the network's pulse in every retail space I enter. But tonight, something changed. Tonight I received a package. No return address. No shipping label. Just my name, written in what looked like melted plastic. Inside was another box, warm, always warm, and a note. Tyler, your story has been read by thousands. They come to our stores now, looking for warm boxes, listening for knocks in the walls. You've fed us well. Time to come home. Management. I can hear it now. The humming beneath my apartment floor. The way the walls breathe when I'm not looking directly at them. The soft whisper of scanners and registers and cash drawers opening and closing in rhythm with my heartbeat. They're right. I'm still connected. Still part of it. And by reading this, by knowing what I know, by carrying these words in your mind, so are you. The network doesn't just exist in the stockrooms anymore. It exists wherever its story is told. Wherever someone reads about warm boxes and knocking walls and the spaces between stores. It spreads like a virus, like a religion, like truth. And the beautiful part? The terrible, beautiful part. We're all working the night shift now. Sweet dreams, friends. And remember, always check if the box is warm. So tell me, have you ever noticed how your local Walmart stockroom door is always locked? Ever wonder what they're really keeping in there? Or maybe what they're keeping out? Drop a comment below if you've had your own strange Walmart experience. And hey, if you want more stories about the places that hide in plain sight, well, you know what to do. Subscribe, share, and whatever you do, stay out of the stockrooms after midnight. Story number 2. The tour guide's flashlight died at exactly 11:47 p.m. I know because I checked my phone right before everything went dark, and right before I heard the first whisper coming from behind the brick wall that shouldn't have been hollow. But wait, before you think this is just another ghost story about Seattle's underground tunnels, let me tell you something. What lives down there isn't dead, it's very much alive. And it's been waiting for someone like me to finally listen. If you're still here after that, good, you're brave. Or maybe just curious like I was. Either way, hit that subscribe button now because by the end of this story, you're going to have questions. Questions I still can't answer. The story begins now. My name is Marcus Chen, and 3 weeks ago, I was just another software developer working late nights in Pioneer Square. You know the type. Coffee-stained hoodie, noise-canceling headphones, completely oblivious to the world around me. The building I worked in was one of those restored brick structures from the 1890s, the kind with exposed beams and windows that rattled when trucks drove by. It was a Thursday night, around 10 p.m., when Jake from building maintenance knocked on our office door. Most people had gone home. Just me and Sarah from accounting were still there, both of us slaves to different deadlines. "Hey Marcus," Jake said, looking unusually excited. "You interested in history?" I pulled off my headphones. "Sure, I guess. Why?" "Found something in the basement. Been doing some renovation work down there and..." He paused, glanced at Sarah, then back at me. "Well, we broke through a wall that wasn't supposed to be there. Opens right into the old Seattle Underground. Now, if you don't know about the Seattle Underground, let me give you the quick version. After the Great Fire of 1889, the city rebuilt itself 1 story higher than before. The old ground floor became the basement, and eventually, those old streets and storefronts were sealed off. Today, there are official tours that take you through sanitized sections, all lit up with electric lights and safety rails. Tourist stuff. But Jake wasn't talking about the tourist area. "The city maps don't show this section," he continued, his voice dropping lower. "It's like pristine down there, untouched since they sealed it. I thought maybe you'd want to see it before I have to report it. You know, bureaucracy and all that." Sarah looked up from her laptop. "That sounds incredibly unsafe." Jake shrugged. "I've been down twice already. Structural engineer checked the immediate area last week. Said it's more stable than most of the buildings above it. Just don't touch anything and stay close." I should have listened to Sarah. She was always the sensible one. But curiosity, that's always been my weakness. That and the fact that I'd been staring at code for 12 hours straight and desperately needed a break. "Give me 5 minutes to save my work," I said. Jake grinned. "Meet me at the basement door. Bring a flashlight if you have one." Sarah shook her head as I grabbed my phone and the small LED flashlight I kept in my desk drawer. "This is how people end up on true crime podcasts, Marcus. It's just the basement, Sarah. What's the worst that could happen?" She gave me a look that said, everything could happen. And looking back, she was right. The basement of our building was already creepy enough. Exposed pipes, flickering fluorescent lights, that damp smell that never quite goes away in Seattle. Jake was waiting by a section of wall that had been partially demolished, revealing old brickwork behind modern drywall. "Original 1889 construction," he said, running his hand along the exposed brick. "They just built right over it. Didn't even seal it properly. Look." He pulled away a loose board, revealing a gap just wide enough for a person to squeeze through. Beyond it, complete darkness. "You first," I joked, but Jake was already sliding through the opening. His voice echoed from the other side. "You've got to see this." I hesitated for maybe 3 seconds. 3 seconds where every rational part of my brain screamed at me to go back upstairs, finish my work, go home to my apartment, and forget this ever happened. But then I heard Jake whistle, long and low, the kind of sound you make when you're genuinely amazed. So I squeezed through. The first thing that hit me was the air. It wasn't stale like you'd expect from a sealed space. It was active, like it was moving, breathing, even though there was no breeze. The second thing was the silence. The moment I passed through that gap, all the ambient noise from the modern world disappeared. No humming pipes, no distant traffic, nothing. Jake's flashlight beam cut through the darkness, illuminating a wooden sidewalk that looked like it had been frozen in time. Store signs still hung from rusted chains. Glass windows reflected our lights, intact after more than a century. It was like stepping into a photograph. "This is incredible," I whispered, and my voice seemed to travel forever in both directions. We walked slowly, our footsteps echoing on the wooden planks. I could make out a barber shop, its pole still wrapped in faded red and white stripes, a saloon with bottles still lined up behind the bar, a general store with merchandise still on the shelves, covered in dust so thick it looked like snow. "How is this possible?" I asked. "The tours, they say most of the underground was destroyed or filled in." Jake shrugged. "City's got over 30 miles of tunnels down here. They only mapped maybe half of them. Some sections got sealed off and forgotten. This must be one of them." We kept walking, and I started noticing things, little details that didn't quite fit. The dust on the shelves was thick, but the floor was relatively clean, like someone had walked through recently. Some of the store windows were dirty, but others were spotless. And there were marks on the walls, scratches that looked almost like writing. "Jake, look at this." I shined my light on a section of brick wall. Carved into it were words, but not in English. The letters looked familiar though, almost like, "Is that backwards?" Jake leaned in closer. It was. Everything was written backwards, like mirror writing. And when I held up my phone to use the camera to flip it, the message made my skin crawl. They never left. They just learned to hide. Jake laughed, but it sounded forced. "Someone's having fun with the tourists." "What tourists? You said this section's been sealed since..." That's when we heard it. A sound like footsteps, but not quite. More like something dragging, shuffling, moving parallel to us, but one street over. In the underground, there were multiple levels of streets, some running alongside each other, separated by walls. We both froze, listened. The sound stopped. "Probably just settling," Jake said. But he was already turning back toward the entrance. "We should go. I need to lock up." I followed him, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The scratches on the walls, they weren't random, they formed patterns, and the more I looked, the more I saw them. On every surface, thousands of backwards messages carved into brick and wood. We made it back to the gap in the wall, squeezed through, and Jake immediately started pushing the board back into place. "You're not going to report this?" I asked. He looked at me, and for the first time, I noticed how pale he'd become. "Report what? I didn't find anything." "Neither did you, understand?" I nodded, but I was already planning to come back. Because in those last few seconds, just before we left, I'd seen something Jake hadn't. In the reflection of one of those pristine windows, something had been watching us. Not someone. Something. And it had been smiling. I lasted exactly 6 days before I went back. 6 days of trying to focus on work. 6 days of dreams about those backwards messages. 6 days of Googling everything I could find about the Seattle Underground. The official tours talked about opium dens and gambling halls. The conspiracy sites mentioned Shanghai tunnels and secret societies. But nothing, absolutely nothing, mentioned an entire preserved section with backwards writing on the walls. It was the following Wednesday, around midnight, when I slipped back into the office building. I had my key card. I had every right to be there. But I'd waited until I knew the building would be empty. Even Jake would have gone home by now. This time, I came prepared. 2 flashlights, extra batteries, my phone fully charged, a portable charger, and a small backpack with water and energy bars. I wasn't planning to stay long, just wanted to document those messages. Take photos, try to understand what I'd seen. The basement was darker than I remembered. The fluorescent lights were off, leaving only the emergency exits glowing green in the darkness. The gap in the wall was still there. The board Jake had replaced already loose again, like someone else had been through. I should have left right then, but I didn't. Squeezing through felt different this time. The air on the other side was warmer, thicker, and there was a smell I hadn't noticed before. Sweet, like overripe fruit, but with something chemical underneath, like formaldehyde. My flashlight beam seemed weaker here, like the darkness was actively fighting against it. But I could still see the wooden sidewalk, the storefronts, everything exactly as we'd left it, except the dust patterns had changed. Where Jake and I had walked, our footprints were gone. But there were new tracks, lots of them, going in every direction. Some looked human, others didn't. I started taking photos focusing on the backwards messages. Through my phone screen, flipped to read correctly. They told a story. The fire didn't kill us all. We adapted. The dark is better than the light. They sealed us in, but we made it home. The deeper I went, the more disturbing the messages became. We hear you walking above. Your basement is our ceiling. Sometimes we visit. You've seen us but didn't know. I was so focused on documenting the messages that I almost missed the sound. Breathing, slow, deliberate, coming from the saloon to my left. I froze. Flashlight beam wavering. Hello? My voice cracked. Jake, is that you? The breathing stopped, then a whisper. So quiet I almost thought I'd imagined it. Jake doesn't come here anymore. Every instinct told me to run. But I had to know, had to see. I stepped toward the saloon, pushed open the batwing doors that shouldn't have moved so easily after a century. The inside was wrong, all wrong. The bottles behind the bar weren't covered in dust. They were clean, full, and the liquid inside was moving, swirling, like something alive. The mirror behind the bar was intact, but it didn't reflect right. I could see myself, but I was backwards, not mirror backwards. Actually backwards, like I was looking at myself from behind, and there were others in the reflection, dozens of them, standing behind me, watching. I spun around, nothing, empty saloon, but in the mirror, they were still there. Getting closer, that's when I noticed the photographs on the wall, old sepia-toned pictures from the 1880s, men in bowler hats, women in bustled dresses, except their faces were wrong, blurred, like they'd moved during the exposure. But photographs from that era required people to stay perfectly still. One photo caught my eye. A group of workers, standing in what looked like this very saloon. The photo was labeled Renovation Crew, 1889, days before the fire. But someone had written on it, in that same backwards script, still here. A bottle fell behind me, shattered. The sound echoed forever. I ran, burst through the saloon doors, sprinted down the wooden sidewalk, my flashlight beam swinging wildly. Behind me, footsteps, dozens of them, but also that dragging sound, like someone pulling something heavy, something wet. The gap in the wall seemed impossibly far away. The tunnel stretched, elongated, like in a nightmare. The storefronts on either side began to change. Modern items appeared in the windows. A smartphone, a laptop, a Starbucks cup. Things that shouldn't be there. Things that suggested, they do visit, they do come up, they're among us. I reached the gap, dove through, scrambled to my feet in the familiar basement. Behind me, silence. I shined my light through the opening. The wooden sidewalk was gone. Just a brick wall. Solid. Old. Like there had never been anything there at all. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You weren't supposed to see the photographs. Then another. Jake told you not to come back. And another. Now, you know. I blocked the number. It texted again. Different number. Same message. You can't unknow. I ran up the stairs, out of the building, into the Seattle rain. It was 2 a.m. The streets were mostly empty, but every person I passed, every late-night wanderer, every homeless individual in a doorway, I wondered, are they from above or below? I tried to forget, threw myself into work, avoided the basement, even started taking the stairs instead of the elevator to avoid being underground at all. But the texts kept coming, different numbers every time. Sometimes just single words. Remember, watching, soon. After a week of this, I cracked. I needed answers, so I did what any reasonable millennial would do. I started a Reddit thread, posted my story, the photos I'd taken, everything. Within hours, it was deleted, not by mods. My entire account was gone, like it never existed. I tried Twitter, same thing, Instagram, deleted. Every attempt to share what I'd seen was scrubbed within hours. That's when I met Amy. She found me, not the other way around. Showed up at the coffee shop where I always worked on Saturdays. Petite woman, maybe 40, wearing vintage clothes that looked genuinely old, not retro. "Marcus Chen?" she asked, sitting down without invitation. I looked up from my laptop. "Do I know you?" "No, but you know my great-great-grandmother's store. The millinery shop in the underground, the one with the clean windows." My blood went cold. "How do you—" "We monitor all the entrances, have for generations. You're not the first to find that section, won't be the last, but you're one of the few who saw them in the mirrors." She pulled out a leather journal, weathered and worn, opened it to show pages of handwritten notes, drawings, maps. "My family, we're descendants, from below, but we came up, integrated, learned to live in the light. Not all of them did. Them? The ones who stayed. After the fire, when they rebuilt Seattle, most people evacuated, but some were trapped, injured, forgotten. The city built over them, sealed them in. They should have died." She paused, sipped the coffee she hadn't ordered but somehow had. But Seattle was different back then. The whole Pacific Northwest was. The indigenous peoples knew. There are places where the boundary is thin, between our world and others. The underground became one of those places. The forgotten people, they didn't die. They adapted, changed, became something else. That's insane. Is it? You saw them, in the mirrors. That's their world now, the reflected world. They can't fully exist in ours anymore, but they can visit, through reflections, through shadows, through the spaces between. She showed me a photograph. Old, black and white. A family standing in front of a store. But their faces were clear, normal, human. This was my family before. They chose to leave, to rejoin the world above, but it took time, generations, learning to be human again. And the others? They chose differently. They like what they became. And they're angry. Marcus, angry at being forgotten, angry at being sealed away, angry at the tours that pass by their territory, telling lies about what happened down there. What do they want? Amy looked at me with eyes that seemed older than her face. They want to come up, all of them. They want to reclaim what was taken. But they can't, not yet. They need something first. What? An invitation. From someone who's seen them. Someone who knows they're real. Someone who's been marked. My phone buzzed. Another text. She's lying. We're not angry. We're hungry. Amy saw my face pale. They're texting you? I nodded. Then it's already started. They can reach through now, through the digital spaces, the electromagnetic fields, the Wi-Fi signals that penetrate underground. They're learning, evolving. How do I make it stop? You can't. Once you've seen them, really seen them, you're connected. The only choice is what kind of connection. You can be their food or their friend. Friend? Some of us work with them, help them. In exchange for benefits, they know things, see things. The reflected world shows more than just our faces. It shows truth, futures, possibilities. My phone buzzed again. Don't trust her, she feeds us tourists. Amy smiled, and for just a moment, her reflection in the coffee shop window didn't match her movement. Think about it, Marcus. You could have answers to every question. Success beyond imagination. All they ask in return is assistance. Small things, leaving certain doors unlocked, forgetting to report certain disappearances, looking the other way when someone new moves into your building, someone who only comes out at night, someone whose reflection never quite matches. I stood up, backed away. You're one of them. No, I'm like you, caught between. But I chose survival over ignorance, and now you have to choose too. I ran again, but this time I knew running wouldn't help. Because that night, when I got home, my bathroom mirror showed me something that made me understand the real horror. My reflection was starting to fade. It's been 3 weeks since I met Amy. 3 weeks of watching my reflection grow dimmer. 3 weeks of texts from unknown numbers. 3 weeks of seeing them in every reflective surface, getting closer, reaching through. I tried covering all the mirrors in my apartment. Didn't help. They found other ways. The black screen of my TV, the window at night, even puddles on the street. Always there, always watching, always hungry. Jake disappeared 5 days ago. The building management said he quit, moved back to Texas to be with family. But I know better. I saw him 2 nights ago, in the underground. He was one of them now. His reflection walked independently from his body, leading tours that no one else could see, gathering the lonely, the lost, the forgotten. Sarah from accounting tried to help me. She researched everything, found old newspaper articles about disappearances dating back to the 1890s, always the same pattern. People reported seeing things in mirrors, receiving strange messages, then vanishing without a trace. Their bodies were never found, but sometimes people would report seeing them years later, unchanged, walking through Pioneer Square at night, their reflections moving wrong. There has to be a way to stop this, she said, surrounded by printouts and old books in her apartment. But I already knew the truth. Amy had told me, and the ones below confirmed it in their endless texts. There were only 3 choices. Feed them, become one of them, or there's a third option, Sarah said, finding something in an old journal from the Seattle Historical Society. Someone found a way to break the connection. In 1923, a man named Thomas Webb, he was marked like you, But he survived, lived to be 90. How? She showed me the entry. Thomas Webb had discovered that the connection worked both ways. If they could reach through to our world, we could reach through to theirs. And in their world, the reflected world, we had power. We could change things, reshape reality. He went back, Sarah read, entered through the underground but didn't stop at the physical space. He went deeper, into the reflection itself, and he made a deal. Not with them, but with the underground itself. The actual space. The genius Loki. The what? The spirit of the place. Every location has one, especially old places, places with history, with tragedy. The Seattle Underground has been accumulating power for over a century, fed by forgotten stories, lost souls, abandoned dreams. It's alive, Marcus, and it's older and stronger than the things living in it. That night, I made my decision. I would go back one final time, but not alone. Sarah insisted on coming. So did Amy, who had been texting me constantly, trying to convince me to accept the transformation. "You don't understand," Amy said as we stood outside the building at midnight. "Fighting them only makes it worse. Thomas Webb, he didn't win. He just postponed the inevitable. His descendants are all gone now, taken one by one. The underground always collects its debts. But I had to try. My reflection was almost gone now. In a few more days, I would be nothing but an empty shell, perfect for them to inhabit, to use, to send back up into the world as their agent." We entered through the basement. The gap was wider now, like something had been forcing its way through. The wooden sidewalk beyond was different too, newer looking, cleaner, like time was running backwards. The messages on the walls had changed. "Welcome home, Marcus. We've prepared your room. Your reflection is already here." The saloon doors were open. Inside, dozens of them. Not quite human anymore. Their bodies were blurred, shifting, existing in multiple states at once. And in the center, my reflection, complete, solid, more real than I was. It smiled with my face, spoke with my voice. "You're late. We've been waiting." Sarah grabbed my hand. "Remember the plan. We need to reach the heart, the oldest part, the first foundation." We ran, deeper into the underground than I'd ever been, past the tourist sections, past the forgotten sections, into areas that shouldn't exist. Tunnels that predated Seattle, chambers carved from solid rock, spaces that hurt to look at because they existed in more than 3 dimensions. Behind us, they followed, hundreds of them, all the forgotten ones, all the reflected ones, all the hungry ones. And then we found it, a circular chamber with walls of pure black stone, older than the city, older than recorded history, indigenous symbols carved into every surface, warnings, protections, bindings. In the center, a pool of water, perfectly still, perfectly black, not reflecting anything. "The original spring," Sarah whispered. "The reason they built here, the reason the boundary is thin." Amy caught up to us. But she wasn't trying to stop us anymore. She looked terrified. "You don't know what you're doing. That water, it doesn't just reflect, it absorbs. It takes everything. Your body, your soul, your existence. Even they won't come near it." But I understood now. Thomas Webb hadn't fought them. He'd offered himself to something older, something that existed before reflections, before light, before division between our world and theirs. I stepped toward the pool. My reflection, my other self, appeared in the doorway. "Don't," it said. "We can coexist. Share the body, share the life. You'll be more than human, more than reflection. You'll be complete." For a moment, I was tempted to never be alone, to always have another perspective, to exist in two worlds at once. But then I saw Sarah's face, saw the fear, the hope, the humanity. And I jumped. The water was everything and nothing, past and future, light and void. I felt myself dissolving, not dying, but becoming part of something vast, ancient, patient, and in that moment, I understood. The underground wasn't just a place, it was a prison, a boundary, a seal. The things that lived there, they weren't the prisoners, we were. The reflection world, the dark spaces, the forgotten corners, they were always here, before us. The city, civilization, light itself. These were the invasions, the intrusions, and Seattle, built on stolen land, built over sacred spaces, had weakened the barriers. The fire of 1889 wasn't an accident. It was an attempt to cleanse, to reset. But they rebuilt, sealed the damage underground, trapped the symptoms, but not the cause. I felt the pool offer me a choice. Not the three options I'd thought I had, but something else. I could become the new seal, the living barrier between worlds, neither human nor reflection, but something in between. A guardian, a witness, a warning, or I could return, changed, aware, and spend my remaining years knowing that the barriers were failing, that more gaps were opening, that soon, very soon, the underground wouldn't be below anymore. I chose. I'm writing this from my apartment. It's been a month since that night. Sarah says I was only in the pool for 30 seconds before she pulled me out. But I lived years in those seconds, saw the history of this place, the future too. My reflection came back. But it's different now. We've reached an understanding. It shows me things sometimes, warnings about dangers, glimpses of truth behind lies. In exchange, I leave certain windows uncovered. Let it wander while I sleep. Small price for survival. Amy was right about one thing. You can't unknow, can't unsee. The underground is everywhere now that I know how to look. Every city has one. Every place where they built over instead of starting fresh. Layers upon layers of forgotten spaces, forgotten people, forgotten things that were never quite people to begin with. Jake still texts me sometimes. He seems happy. Says the underground tours he gives now are much more interesting than the official ones. Says the tourists who take them are special, chosen, that they never quite come back the same. Sarah researches still. Found references to similar places worldwide. Paris with its catacombs, London with its plague pits, Rome with its layered centuries. All connected somehow, all thinning boundaries between what is and what's reflected. The texts from unknown numbers have stopped. Mostly. Sometimes I get one that just says, "Thank you for not choosing the pool's embrace," or "The seal holds for now," or my personal favorite, "Your reflection says hello." I've started a new job. Day shift only. In a modern building with no basement, no history, no layers. But sometimes, when I'm walking through Pioneer Square, I hear them. Under the streets, under the tourists, under the entire city, waiting. They're patient. They've been forgotten for over a century. What's a few more years? But if you're ever in Seattle, and someone offers to show you a part of the underground that's not on the official tour, say no. Walk away. Forget you ever heard about it. Because the thing about reflections is, once you start looking at them, really looking, they start looking back. And sometimes, they wave first. Sometimes, they're already in your house. Sometimes, they're reading this story with you right now, wondering if you'll notice them in your screen's reflection. Wondering if you'll be the next one to receive a text from an unknown number. Wondering if you'll be brave enough to visit Seattle. To take that underground tour, to squeeze through a gap that shouldn't be there. The underground is calling. The old city has residents and they're always recruiting. Sweet dreams. Wait, before you go, before you click away, check your mirror tonight. Check if your reflection moves when you do. Check if it blinks when you blink. Check if it's really you looking back. And if it's not, if it's something else, something hungry, something patient, welcome to the club. The underground isn't just in Seattle anymore. It's everywhere. It's spreading. And now that you've read this, now that you know, you're marked too. Sleep tight, and whatever you do, don't answer the texts that are about to start coming. They're not from me.
Story number 3.
The notification came at 2:47 a.m. My phone buzzed against the nightstand. That familiar Ring doorbell chime cutting through my dream about drowning in black water. Motion detected at your front door. I almost ignored it. Living in suburban Minneapolis, you get used to false alarms. Raccoons, wind-blown leaves, the occasional drunk college kid stumbling down Hennepin Avenue. But something made me look. And what I saw on that grainy night vision footage, it changed everything I thought I knew about myself. About reality. About the thin line between sleeping and waking. Because the person in that video, the one standing at my door at 2:47 a.m., was me. And I was dragging something heavy, something that left dark streaks across my porch. Something shaped exactly like a body. If you're listening to this late at night, maybe you should check your own doorbell camera. Maybe you should make sure all your doors are locked. Because after what I discovered, I don't think any of us are safe from ourselves. The story begins now. I live alone in a 2-story colonial on Maple Street. The kind of neighborhood where everyone has matching mailboxes and the HOA sends passive-aggressive emails about lawn height. I installed the Ring doorbell 6 months ago after someone kept stealing my Amazon packages. Normal suburban paranoia, nothing more. That Tuesday started like any other. Coffee at 7, emails by 8, conference calls that could have been emails. I worked from home. Software development for a healthcare startup. The kind of job where days blur together into one endless stream of code and Slack messages. Around 11 p.m., I was finally shutting down my laptop when my phone buzzed. Not the Ring notification. A text from my neighbor, Mrs. Chen. "Everything okay over there? Saw you outside pretty late last night." I stared at the message. I hadn't been outside. I'd been in bed by 10, knocked out after a Benadryl for my allergies. The pollen count had been brutal all week. "Must have been someone else," I texted back. "Was asleep by 10. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Could have sworn it was you. You were wearing that red hoodie you always wear." My blood cooled. I glanced at my chair where my red University of Minnesota hoodie hung. The one I wore almost every day. The one nobody else in the neighborhood had. That's when I opened the Ring app. The timeline showed multiple motion events throughout the night. 11:23 p.m., 12:45 a.m., 1:30 a.m., and then 2:47 a.m. I started with the first one. Just a cat. Probably the tabby from 2 houses down. The second was nothing. A plastic bag dancing in the wind. The third made me pause. A figure walking past, too far from the camera to see clearly. But something about the gate seemed familiar. Then I clicked on 2:47 a.m. The figure filled the frame immediately. Red hoodie. My red hoodie. Same faded logo. Same coffee stain on the right sleeve from last week's mishap. But the face was wrong. It was me, but not me. Like looking at yourself in a funhouse mirror where everything is slightly off. This other me was dragging something. The video quality wasn't great. Ring doorbells aren't exactly Hollywood cameras. But I could see the burden was heavy. Human-shaped, limp. My doppelganger looked directly at the camera. Smiled, not a normal smile, something wider, something that belonged in a dental x-ray, not a face. Then it pressed the doorbell. The actual doorbell, the one that should have woken me up. But it hadn't. I checked my phone's history. No notification at 2:47 a.m. Nothing in the app's log. This video existed in some kind of digital limbo, recorded but never reported. I watched it again, then again. Each viewing revealed new details. The way the body's feet dragged, leaving those dark trails. The casual way my double adjusted its grip, like it had done this before. The whistling. Soft, but audible. The theme from Jeopardy. I whistle that when I'm nervous. It's been my tic since middle school. My hands shook as I scrolled through the rest of the night's footage. Nothing until 5:15 a.m., another video. This time, my doppelganger was returning. No body, clean clothes, but the same wrong smile. It waved at the camera, a little parade wave, before walking backward down my driveway. Backward. All the way to the street where it simply ended, like it stepped out of frame and ceased to exist. I must have watched those videos 50 times, downloaded them, screen recorded them as backup. My rational brain kept saying it was a prank, deep fake technology, someone playing an elaborate joke. But the timestamp gnawed at me. 2:47 a.m. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through my health app, the one that tracks your sleep automatically through movement and sound. At 2:47 a.m., I had been in deep REM sleep. Heart rate steady at 52 BPM, no movement, no interruption. I had been asleep, completely asleep. So, who was at my door? I didn't sleep the rest of that night. How could I? Every shadow became suspect. Every creak in the house sounded like footsteps. I triple-checked the locks, even wedged a chair under my bedroom doorknob like they do in movies. When dawn finally came, I did what any rational person would do. I looked for evidence. The porch showed nothing. No drag marks, no dark stains. I got on my hands and knees with a flashlight, examining every grain of wood. Clean. Too clean, actually. The pollen that had coated everything for days was gone in 2 perfect drag mark patterns. Someone had cleaned it. Recently. I checked my shoes by the door. The soles were damp, fresh grass stuck in the treads. But I hadn't been outside in 2 days. Working marathon coding sessions for a deadline. The red hoodie smelled wrong too, like copper and something else. Something organic and unpleasant. I threw it in the washer immediately, then regretted it. Evidence. I was destroying evidence. Evidence of what, though? I called in sick to work and spent the day investigating. First, I checked other Ring doorbells in the neighborhood. The app has this feature where you can share footage with neighbors. Mrs. Chen's camera showed nothing. The Johnsons across the street. Their camera was offline that night. The Patel family 3 houses down had footage, but their angle only showed the street. Except, at 2:43 a.m., their camera caught something. A figure in a red hoodie walking down the street. Walking normally. Forward. Purposeful. And beside it, another figure, stumbling, struggling, very much alive. Then both figures moved out of frame toward my house. 4 minutes later, only one figure appeared in my doorbell video, dragging something that was no longer struggling. I felt sick, actually ran to the bathroom and dry heaved over the toilet. Because that second figure, the one stumbling, I recognized the jacket, navy blue with reflective stripes, the kind runners wear. Tom Morrison from 2 blocks over had been wearing that exact jacket when I saw him jogging past my house yesterday evening. He'd waved. I'd waved back from my window. Tom Morrison, who hadn't shown up for his job at the bank this morning, according to the neighborhood Facebook group his wife had just posted about. Tom Morrison, who was missing. I should have called the police immediately. Should have shown them the footage. But something stopped me. A feeling, no, a certainty, that this was bigger than a missing person, that calling the police would start something I couldn't stop. Instead, I did something stupid. I went looking for Tom. The logical place to start was between my house and where the Patels' camera lost sight of them. That meant the Hendersons' backyard, which had been empty since they moved to Florida last month. The house was for sale, but no showings this week. I hopped the fence at dusk, my heart hammering so hard I was sure the whole neighborhood could hear it. The backyard was overgrown, grass up to my knees. Perfect for hiding things. I didn't have to search long. The shed door was open. Inside, darkness that seemed too thick, too complete. I turned on my phone's flashlight. Tom wasn't there, but evidence of him was. That navy jacket, torn and muddy, crumpled in the corner, and on the wooden floor, drag marks in the dust, leading to the back wall, a wall that shouldn't have had a door, but did. Not a normal door, more like a seam in reality. A place where the wood seemed to bend inward, creating a gap that hurt to look at directly, like those optical illusions that make your brain itch. I approached it slowly. The air got colder with each step. My breath came out in clouds even though it was 60 degrees outside. The flashlight flickered, the battery indicator dropping from 50% to 20 to dead in seconds. In the darkness, I heard whistling, the Jeopardy theme, my nervous tick. But I wasn't whistling. I ran, scrambled over the fence, tore through my backyard, slammed my door and locked everything. Then I sat in my kitchen with every light on and tried to make sense of what I'd seen. The door that wasn't a door, the whistling, the jacket, and then my phone buzzed. Ring notification. Motion at your front door. 8:47 p.m. Current time. I opened the app with trembling fingers. It was me again, the other me, standing at my door, but this time it wasn't dragging anything. It was holding something up to the camera, a piece of paper with writing. Stop looking, or you'll be next. The handwriting was mine, exactly mine, down to the way I cross my 7s and loop my Gs. The figure smiled that too wide smile and walked backward down my driveway again. But this time, I noticed something else. In the background, barely visible, another figure in a red hoodie, and another, 5 versions of me, all walking backward, all smiling, all wrong. I didn't sleep for 3 days. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that smile, those multiple versions of myself walking backward like some demented rewind button on reality. The ring notifications kept coming. Random times. No pattern I could detect. Sometimes the other me just stood there. Sometimes it left things. A flower from Mrs. Chen's garden. A baseball cap I recognized from the Johnson's porch. Little trophies. On day 4, exhaustion 1. I passed out at my desk around 3 p.m., face planted right into my keyboard. Woke up to darkness and a crick in my neck that felt like someone had replaced my spine with rebar. The clock said 2:30 a.m. I knew what was coming. Could feel it like pressure before a storm. 2:47 a.m. ring notification. But this time was different. This time, the video showed my front door opening, from the inside. I watched myself, the real me, walk out onto the porch. Except I was still sitting at my desk, still holding my phone, still watching. The me in the video looked confused, turned in circles like it was lost. Then another me appeared, the red hoodie me. It took the confused me's hand, almost gently, and led it away. I ran to my front door, still locked, still chained. I peered through the peephole. Nothing but empty porch and streetlight shadows. But when I looked down, muddy footprints. 2 sets, leading out. That's when I understood. The other me wasn't taking people. It was taking versions, iterations, possibilities. Tom Morrison was still missing in this reality. But somewhere else, in another version of this Tuesday, he made it home. His wife didn't post on Facebook. The navy jacket stayed clean. I was witnessing some kind of dimensional bleed, a place where different versions of reality touched and sometimes overlapped. The shed door wasn't a door. It was a wound, a tear, and things were leaking through. I needed help. Real help. Not cops who'd think I was crazy, but someone who might understand. I remembered my college roommate Marcus used to be obsessed with quantum physics and parallel universe theory. Now he taught at the University of Minnesota. If anyone would listen without immediately calling for a psychiatric hold, it would be him. I called him at 7 a.m., told him it was an emergency. He met me at a Caribou Coffee in Uptown, took one look at my face, and ordered me a triple shot. "You look like death," he said. "I might be worse than that." I showed him the videos, all of them, downloaded and backed up in 3 different places because I'd learned my lesson about evidence. He watched in silence, his expression shifting from skeptical to concerned to something I couldn't read. "This is elaborate," he finally said. "The kind of thing that would take serious resources to fake. It's not fake, I know." He pulled out his laptop. "Because I've been tracking similar anomalies for 6 months. Started with small things, repeated moments. People swearing they saw themselves across campus. Security footage that doesn't match reality." He showed me a spreadsheet. Dates, times, locations, all centered around a 3-mile radius. My neighborhood was dead center. "It's getting worse," he continued. "The incidents are escalating. What started as glimpses is becoming interactions, overlaps, like reality is developing a stutter." "The shed," I said. "There's something wrong with the Hendersons' shed." Marcus nodded slowly. "Makes sense. Every dimensional theorist agrees. If parallel worlds exist, they'd touch at weak points, places where trauma or extreme emotion wore reality thin." "What happened at the Hendersons?" He typed rapidly, pulled up news archives. His face went pale. 1987. Before the current house was built, a family lived there, the Millers, murder-suicide. The father killed his wife and 3 kids in the shed, then himself. They demolished everything. Built new, but the shed is in the same spot, I finished. Energy doesn't disappear. It just changes form. And traumatic energy, that's the kind that echoes, the kind that creates weak spots. So what do I do? Move? Burn the shed down? Call an exorcist? Marcus closed his laptop. "You need to understand something. If this is what I think it is, you're not dealing with ghosts or demons. You're dealing with yourself. Other versions of yourself from realities where things went differently. Differently how? Where you're not the good guy." The coffee turned to acid in my stomach, because I'd been thinking about that too. The way the other me moved. Comfortable with violence, practiced, like it had done this before. "Every choice creates a branch," Marcus explained. "Every moment where you could go left or right, both happen, just in different realities. And somewhere out there is a version of you that made all the wrong choices. And it's coming here. Not coming," he looked at his watch. "If the pattern holds, it's already here, has been for days. You just haven't realized it yet." "What do you mean?" But I already knew. The lost time. The mornings where I woke up exhausted, despite sleeping 8 hours. The bruises I couldn't explain. The dirt under my fingernails. "Check your phone," Marcus said quietly. "Not the Ring app, your photos." I opened my gallery, scrolled past the screenshots of Ring footage. past the memes and work stuff. Found the automatically backed up photos from the last week. Photos I didn't take. Me standing in the shed, smiling that wrong smile. Me in places I'd never been. At night. Always at night. And in the last one, taken yesterday at 2:47 a.m., me standing over someone sleeping. The angle was bad, could barely make out the bed. But I recognized the Star Wars sheets. The Johnson's kid, 8-year-old Timmy who loved Star Wars and always waved at me when I walked by. The photo was taken from inside his room. "We need to go to the police," Marcus said, but I was already running, sprinting down Hennepin Avenue like my life depended on it. Maybe it did. Maybe Timmy's did. The Johnson's house was quiet. Normal, minivan in the driveway, porch light on. No signs of tragedy. I rang the doorbell, pounded when no one answered immediately. Mr. Johnson opened the door in his bathrobe, confused and irritated until he saw my face. "Is Timmy okay?" I gasped out. "What? Yeah, he's asleep. It's not even 8 yet. What's wrong?" "Can you just check on him, please?" Something in my voice must have convinced him because he didn't argue, just turned and headed upstairs. I followed uninvited, Marcus right behind me. Timmy was fine, sleeping peacefully under those Star Wars sheets, toy lightsaber on his nightstand. But the window was unlocked, and on the sill, muddy fingerprints. Fresh. Mr. Johnson saw them too. His face went hard. "What's going on?" I showed him the photo, the one taken from inside this room. His face went from hard to terrified. That's you. You were in my son's room?" "No, yes, not me, it's complicated." Get out now." He shoved us toward the stairs, yelling for his wife to call 911. We ran again, but I could hear sirens already. Someone else must have called. Multiple someones from the sound of it. Back at my house, we found 3 police cars. Officers with guns drawn. My front door hanging open. "Sir, stop right there," an officer approached, hand on his weapon. "Are you the homeowner?" "Yes, what's happening?" "We received multiple calls about a disturbance, screaming from inside your residence." "I haven't been home, The screaming started again. From inside my house. My voice, but wrong. Tortured, angry. Multiple voices actually, all mine, overlapping in a harmony of rage. The officers looked at me, at the house, back at me. "Sir, who's inside your residence?" Before I could answer, I walked out my front door. The other me. Red hoodie covered in something dark. It saw the police and smiled that impossible smile. Then another me walked out. Different clothes. Same wrong expression. Then another and another. 7 versions of me now stood on my porch. All slightly different. All wrong. All staring at me. The original, with expressions of hunger. The police were frozen. Guns raised, but not firing. How do you process seeing 8 identical people when you were expecting one? The first other me, Red Hoodie me, spoke. Its voice was mine, but layered, like multiple recordings played simultaneously. "We're all you," it said. "Every choice you didn't make. Every dark thought you pushed down. Every violent impulse you ignored. We're the you that said yes instead of no." "That's not possible," I whispered. "The shed makes it possible, the thin place, where all realities touch, where we can finally come home." Marcus grabbed my arm. "We need to go, now." But where could we go? These things, these other me's, they knew everything I knew, every hiding spot, every password, every secret. The police officer finally found his voice. "Everyone freeze! Nobody move!" The other me's laughed, in unison. The sound was like glass breaking in reverse. Then they scattered. 7 directions. 7 versions of me loose in my neighborhood. The police split up, chasing shadows that knew exactly how they'd react because they'd made those same decisions in other realities. Marcus dragged me to his car. The shed, we have to close it. How? Same way you close any wound. Burn it. Cauterize it. That's arson. That's survival. We drove to the abandoned Henderson place. No other MEs in sight, but I could feel them, like phantom limbs, extensions of myself twisted into something monstrous. The shed door stood open, that impossible seam in reality gaping wider now, wide enough to walk through, and things were walking through, not just versions of me anymore. I saw Tom Morrison stumble out. But wrong. His eyes were black, his movements jerky like a marionette. Behind him, others. Neighbors I recognized but didn't. All walking backward, all smiling. "Gasoline," Marcus said. "In my trunk. Emergency kit." I grabbed the small gas can while he pulled road flares from his glove box. 2 gallons, maybe enough. We approached the shed slowly. The wrongness of it made my teeth ache. Reality was thinner here, like looking through water. I could see other versions of this moment. Marcus and me failing. Marcus and me succeeding. Marcus and me becoming something else entirely. "Don't look at it directly," Marcus warned. "Pour and run." I emptied the gas can around the shed's perimeter, splashed the walls, threw the can inside. The fumes made me dizzy, or maybe that was the dimensional bleed affecting my inner ear. Marcus lit the flare. The red light made everything look like blood. "Wait," I said. A thought occurred, a terrible thought. If we burn it, what happens to them, the other me's? They go back, or they burn. Either way, they can't stay here. But they're still me. No. Marcus handed me the flare. They're what you could have been, what you chose not to be. Every good decision you ever made created them as shadows, and shadows can't survive in the light. I threw the flare. The shed didn't just burn. It screamed, a sound like reality itself tearing, flames that burned in colors that shouldn't exist. The heat pushed us back, but also pulled us forward, like gravity was optional. Through the fire, I saw them, the other Miz, running toward the shed from all directions, drawn like moths. Their faces weren't angry anymore. They looked relieved. One by one, they walked into the flames, dissolved, returned to wherever they came from. The last one, red hoodie me, paused at the threshold, looked back at me. "Every choice has a price," it said with my voice. "You just paid yours." Then it was gone. The shed collapsed, the seam sealed, and I was alone. Just one me. The right me, the only me. The official story was a gas leak. Old shed, faulty wiring, spontaneous combustion, the kind of thing insurance companies hate but can't disprove. Tom Morrison was found 3 days later, wandering downtown Minneapolis with no memory of the missing time. The Johnsons moved within a month. Mrs. Chen still waves but doesn't make eye contact. I kept the Ring doorbell videos, encrypted, hidden, proof that sometimes reality hiccups, that sometimes we glimpse what could have been. Marcus helps me monitor things. We check for patterns, weak spots, other places where the walls between worlds grow thin. So far, nothing. But sometimes, late at night, I still get notifications. Motion at your front door, and when I check, there's nothing there. Just empty porch and shadows. Except the shadows are wrong. They fall in directions that don't match the streetlights. They move when there's no wind. And sometimes, just sometimes, they wave. The doctors say trauma can cause hallucinations. That stress and lack of sleep can make you see things that aren't there. They're probably right. but I still check my Ring doorbell every night at 2:47 a.m. because I know the truth. We're never really alone. Every choice we make creates a shadow. Every path not taken leaves a ghost. And sometimes, in the thin places where reality wears through, those shadows come home. If you're still listening, if you made it this far, do me a favor. Check your doorbell camera. Check your security footage. Look for yourself in places you've never been, doing things you'd never do. And if you see yourself smiling that wrong smile, run. Lock your doors. Call someone. Don't go investigating alone, because the other you, the one that made all the wrong choices, it's out there, waiting, watching, looking for a way in. And once it finds you, once you see what you could have been, you'll never sleep peacefully again. Sweet dreams. Story number 4. The first time my husband brought home the wrong child, I thought I was losing my mind. Picture this. Tuesday afternoon, 3:15. The same time David picks up our daughter Emma from Riverside Elementary every single day. I'm in the kitchen making her favorite snack, peanut butter crackers with those little smiley faces drawn in honey, when I hear his SUV pull into our driveway in suburban Minneapolis. The door opens. David's voice calls out the same way it always does. We're home. But when I turn around, the girl standing next to him isn't Emma. This child has Emma's backpack, Emma's lunchbox. She's even wearing Emma's purple unicorn sweater that I laid out that morning. But her face is completely different. Wrong nose, wrong eyes, hair 3 shades darker. David, my voice comes out as barely a whisper. Who is this? He looks at me like I've asked him why water is wet. What do you mean? It's Emma. Are you feeling okay, honey? The girl, this stranger, runs up and hugs my legs. Mommy, can I have my snack now? I'm hungry. My heart stops. That's Emma's voice. Exactly Emma's voice. But coming from a face I've never seen before. And that's when I should have run. Should have grabbed my keys and driven straight to my sister's house in St. Paul. Should have called the police. Should have done literally anything except what I actually did, which was convince myself I was having some kind of breakdown. Now the story begins. I spent that entire first evening pretending everything was normal. What else could I do? David acted like nothing was wrong. This child, whoever she was, knew everything Emma knew. Her favorite TV show, the names of all her stuffed animals, even the secret handshake we made up last summer. That night, after David tucked her into Emma's bed and read her Emma's favorite story, I pulled him into our bedroom. David, we need to talk about what happened today. He was already getting ready for bed, setting his phone on the nightstand the same way he did every night. What happened today? That's not Emma. He turned to look at me, and for just a second, just a fraction of a second, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Fear? Recognition? But then it was gone, replaced by concern. Sarah, you're scaring me. Of course it's Emma. Who else would it be? I wanted to show him pictures, pull out our family photos and prove that our daughter had blonde hair, not brown, blue eyes, not hazel. But when I opened my phone, all the pictures had changed. Every single one showed this new child. At Emma's birthday party, on our vacation to Duluth, her first day of kindergarten. My hands started shaking. This isn't possible. David came over and felt my forehead. You're burning up. Maybe you should lie down. But I wasn't sick. I knew what my daughter looked like. I carried her for 9 months. I memorized every line of her face the day she was born at Hennepin County Medical Center. This wasn't her. The next morning, Wednesday, I kept Emma home from school, told David I wasn't feeling well and wanted her company. He seemed reluctant, but eventually agreed. I spent the entire day studying this child, testing her, asking her questions only the real Emma would know. She knew everything, every answer perfect, every mannerism exactly right, except the face. The face remained wrong. "Mommy, why do you keep staring at me?" she asked over lunch. I love looking at you, sweetheart." She smiled Emma's smile with someone else's mouth. "I love you too, Mommy." Thursday came. I let David take her to school, spent the entire day going through photo albums, medical records, birth certificates. Everything had changed. According to every piece of evidence in our house, this had always been our daughter. 3:15 came around again. I stood in the kitchen, waiting. The SUV pulled up, the door opened. "We're home." I turned around. Different child. This one was taller, Asian features, boy's haircut but wearing Emma's dress. Still had Emma's backpack, still had her voice. "Hi, Mommy. Mrs. Anderson gave us homework today. Can you help me?" David walked in behind it, looking completely normal, kissed me on the cheek. "How was your day, honey?" I couldn't speak, could barely breathe. This child sat at our kitchen table and pulled out homework with Emma's name on it, in Emma's handwriting, but the hand holding the pencil belonged to someone else entirely. "Sarah?" David's voice. "You okay?" I need to use the bathroom." I locked myself in and called my sister Rebecca. "Becca, something's wrong. Something's really wrong." "Sarah, what's happening? You sound terrified." "Can you come over? Please? Right now?" "Of course, 20 minutes." She made it in 15. I heard her talking to David in the living room, heard her say hi to whatever was pretending to be Emma. Then she knocked on the bathroom door. "Sarah, it's me." I let her in and grabbed her shoulders. "That's not Emma. You know Emma. You were there when she was born. Tell me that's not her." Rebecca's face went pale. "Sarah, what are you talking about? That's definitely Emma." No, it's not. It can't be." "Sarah, you're scaring me. That little girl out there, that's your daughter. I've known her for 6 years." But that was impossible because this wasn't even the same child who had been here yesterday. How could Rebecca remember her as Emma when she'd only existed for an hour? After Rebecca left, looking concerned and suggesting I maybe talk to someone, I started keeping a journal, hidden in a shoebox in the back of my closet where David never looked. Every day, I documented what the child looked like: height, hair color, eye color, distinguishing features. Friday, tall Asian boy, presenting child. Saturday, short black girl with braids. Sunday, pale red-headed boy with freckles. Monday, heavy-set Hispanic girl. Tuesday, thin blonde boy with glasses. Every single day at 3:15. David would bring home a completely different child, and every single time he acted like nothing was wrong. The child would call me Mommy, would know everything about our family, would sleep in Emma's bed. And every morning when I checked my phone, all the pictures had changed to match. I started taking Polaroids, old camera I found at a garage sale. Figured maybe analog photos wouldn't change. I was right, sort of. The Polaroids stayed the same, but when I showed them to David, he'd look at them and describe Emma, our Emma, the original Emma, even though the photo clearly showed someone else. "Look at this picture," I'd say, holding up a Polaroid of the red-headed boy. "Yeah, great picture of Emma. When did you take this?" "David, this is a boy. Red hair, freckles." He'd look at me with those concerned eyes. "Sarah, that's Emma. Blonde hair and pigtails. See? She's wearing her favorite purple sweater." We were looking at the same picture but seeing completely different things. 2 weeks into this nightmare. I finally broke. It was a Thursday. The child that day was a tall, thin boy with dark skin and bright green eyes. He sat at the dinner table eating Emma's favorite meal, mac and cheese with hot dogs cut up in it, while David talked about weekend plans. "I thought we could drive up to the cabin," David said. "Emma's been asking about fishing." The child nodded eagerly. "Can we catch sunfish like last time, Daddy?" Last time. There had been a last time for this child who hadn't existed until 3 hours ago. I slammed my fork down. "Stop it! Both of you, just stop it!" They looked at me with matching expressions of confusion. "This isn't Emma," I said. "This is someone else. Every day you bring home someone else, David. Different children, different faces, and you pretend like nothing's wrong." David reached across the table for my hand. I pulled away. "Sarah, no, I'm not crazy. I have proof, I have pictures." I ran to get my shoebox of Polaroids, spread them across the table. 7 different children, all wearing Emma's clothes, all in our house. "Look," I said, "look at them, all different." David picked up each photo, studied them, the child, the current child, leaned over to look too. "These are all me, Mommy," the child said. "See, that's me at dinner on Monday, that's me doing homework on Tuesday." "Sarah," David's voice was so gentle it made me want to scream. "These are all pictures of Emma, our daughter. They're different children. Sarah, please, you're scaring Emma." The boy with green eyes had tears rolling down his cheeks. Emma's tears. Emma's frightened voice. "Mommy, why are you being mean?" And I broke, completely broke. Sobbed at the table while my husband comforted a stranger with our daughter's voice. That night, I discovered something. After David went to bed, I stayed up with the child, the current Emma. We sat on the couch watching Disney movies, and I asked it a question. "Do you know what you really look like?" The child turned to me. Those green eyes that shouldn't exist seemed to shimmer. "What do you mean, Mommy?" "I mean, do you know that you change every day?" For a long moment, the child said nothing. Then, "You're not supposed to notice." My blood went cold. "What?" "You're not supposed to notice," it repeated, matter of fact, like stating that water is wet. "Daddy doesn't notice, Aunt Rebecca doesn't notice, only you notice." "Why? Why do I notice?" The child shrugged. "I don't know. Sometimes people just see things, but it makes Daddy sad when you see things. What are you?" "I'm Emma. I'm your daughter. But you change. Every day you're different." "I'm always Emma." The child moved closer to me on the couch. "Mommy, does it matter what I look like? I love you. I remember everything. Our songs, our games, our secrets. Isn't that what makes me Emma?" I wanted to say no, wanted to run, but this thing, it had Emma's memories. Emma's love, Emma's fear when I rejected it. "Where is the real Emma?" I whispered. "I am the real Emma. I've always been the real Emma. Just different versions." "That doesn't make sense." The child took my hand. Its skin was warm, real. "Mommy, please don't make Daddy choose." "Choose? Between you and me. Please don't make him choose. He'll choose me. He always chooses me." The next morning, I woke up with a new kind of dread. David was already up, making breakfast. The child from last night was gone. A new one sat at the table. Shorter, rounder. Asian features again, but different from before. "Morning, honey," David said, kissing my cheek. "Emma and I were thinking about going to the park later. Want to come?" I looked at the new child. It smiled at me with Emma's smile. "Morning, Mommy, I love you." And I realized something horrifying. I was getting used to it. The shock was wearing off. This child, despite looking nothing like the one from yesterday, felt familiar. Felt like Emma. "I love you too," I heard myself say. David smiled. "There's my girls. But later, when David was at the park with the current Emma, I did something I should have done weeks ago. I went through his things, his office, his computer, his phone. Everything was normal. Too normal. Work emails, family photos, all showing different versions of Emma, but he'd see the original. Nothing to explain what was happening. Then I found it, in the garage, behind boxes of Christmas decorations. A journal, old, leather-bound, filled with David's handwriting. The first entry was dated 7 years ago, 1 year before Emma was born. The deal is simple. They promise a child, a perfect child, one who will love us unconditionally, who will never leave, never grow up to hate us, never disappear. The price seems small. Sarah won't notice. They promised she won't notice. My hands trembled as I read on. The ceremony was easier than expected. No blood, no sacrifice, just words, ancient words, and a promise. The child will come, will be ours, will be perfect. I flipped forward, 2 entries from when I was pregnant. Except, Sarah thinks she's pregnant. The illusion is perfect. She glows. She's so happy. The others at the ceremony said this is normal. The mothers always believe, always love. It's part of the design. I was never pregnant. The ultrasounds, the morning sickness, the labor. All of it. False. Implanted memories. Illusions. Emma arrived today. Sarah held her and cried. She's perfect. Everything we wanted. The others were right. She changes, but only I notice. Only the fathers notice. It's our burden to bear. Sarah will love her regardless. All mothers do. I confronted David that night. After the current Emma, a small Indian girl with long black hair, went to bed. I found your journal. He went completely still. What journal? I threw it on the coffee table between us. This one. The one about the deal, about Emma, about what she really is. For the longest time, he said nothing. Then, you weren't supposed to find that. What did you do, David? He rubbed his face, looking older, tired. We tried for 3 years, Sarah. 3 years of fertility treatments, IVF, everything. Nothing worked. So you made a deal with what? The devil? Not the devil. Something else. Something older. It doesn't matter what. What matters is it worked. We have Emma. We have a thing that pretends to be Emma. No. His voice was firm. We have our daughter. She loves us. We love her. What else matters? She's not human, David. So what? She's kind. She's smart. She's loving. She's everything a daughter should be. She changes every day. Only you notice that. I didn't think you would notice. No one else notices. Even I barely notice anymore. My brain just accepts it. Updates. Like downloading new software every day. I stood up, pacing. This is insane. Is it? Is it more insane than being childless? Than watching everyone around us have families while we sat in empty rooms? Yes. Yes, it's more insane. You made a deal with some thing. You created an illusion, a lie. I created a family. He stood too. Sarah, please. I know this is shocking. I know it's hard to accept, but think about Emma. Think about how much she loves you, how much joy she's brought us. She's not real. She's as real as love can make her. Every hug, every laugh, every bedtime story. That's all real. What happens when she grows up, or does she even grow up? David looked away. She grows, slowly. The changes, they include aging. By the time she's 18, she'll stabilize, pick a final form, become fixed. And then what? Then she's our adult daughter, forever. Forever? That was part of the deal. She'll never leave us, never abandon us, never stop loving us. The room felt cold. What was the price, David? He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. One of us has to stay aware. One of us has to know the truth. Bear witness to what she really is. I thought it would always be me. I was prepared for that burden. But somehow, you broke through. You see her changes. That's not a price. That's just knowledge. No. He met my eyes. The price is that one day, one of us has to choose. Between the truth and the lie. Between accepting her or rejecting her. And if we reject her, she disappears. Forever. Like she never existed. And if we accept her, then the one who knows the truth disappears instead. My blood turned to ice. What? That's the deal, Sarah. One of us gets to stay with Emma. The other ceases to exist. Not death, just erasure, like we never were. You signed us up for this without telling me? I signed myself up for it. I was supposed to be the one who knew, the one who would eventually have to choose. But now you know. So you have to choose. When? Her 7th birthday. 3 weeks from now. 3 weeks. I had 3 weeks to decide whether to accept a creature that wasn't human as my daughter, or reject her and lose her forever. But more than that, if I accepted her, I would disappear. David and Emma would continue on like I never existed. If I rejected her, she would vanish, and David and I would be left with, what, empty rooms and false memories? I spent those 3 weeks studying her. Every version of her. The tall boys, the small girls, every ethnicity, every face, but always, always Emma's voice, Emma's laugh, Emma's way of tilting her head when she was thinking. One evening, 2 weeks before the deadline, the current Emma, a medium-height white girl with brown curls, crawled into my lap while I was reading. "Mommy, why are you sad?" "I'm not sad, sweetheart." "You are. You've been sad since you started seeing me." "Seeing you? Really, seeing me, all of me, the different me's." I stroked her hair that would be different tomorrow. "Does it hurt, the changing?" "No, it's like going to sleep and waking up. I'm always me inside, just wearing different faces." "Why different faces?" "Because," she thought about it, "because that's how I was made. To be loved by anyone, to fit anywhere, to never be rejected for how I look. But I might reject you anyway." She nodded against my chest. "I know. Daddy explained. If you say no, I go away." "Are you scared?" "Yes, but not of going away. I'm scared of making you go away. If you say yes, you disappear, and then I'll only have Daddy, and he'll be sad forever, even if he doesn't remember why." "How do you know that?" "Because I know him. I know both of you. You're my parents. I love you." And there it was. The horrible, beautiful truth. This thing, this creature, loved us. Truly loved us. With a programmed love, maybe. A designed love. But was that any different from biological love? Weren't human children programmed by DNA to love their parents? The night before Emma's 7th birthday, David and I lay in bed, not sleeping. "I should have told you," he whispered in the darkness. "Yes, you should have. I was desperate, Sarah. And they promised she would be perfect. She is perfect, every version of her." "So you've decided." I hadn't, not really. But I said, "I have to choose tomorrow, at midnight, when she officially turns 7. What happens, exactly?" "I don't know. The others wouldn't tell me. Just that one of us continues on and one doesn't." "The others?" "From the ceremony. Other couples who made the same deal. I've kept in touch with some of them. And half chose to accept, half chose to reject. The ones who rejected, they don't have children anymore, can barely remember wanting them. The ones who accepted, one spouse just vanished. No one remembers them except the children. The children always remember. So Emma would remember me? If you choose to accept her and disappear, yes, she would be the only one who remembered you existed. I thought about that, being preserved only in the memory of something inhuman. But then, wasn't all memory like that? Imperfect, shifting, changed by time and perception? David? Yeah. Do you love her, really love her? More than anything. More than life. She's my daughter, Sarah. Whatever else she is, she's my daughter. Even knowing what she is, especially knowing, because she chose to love us back. Every day, every face, she chooses to be Emma, to be ours. Midnight approached. Emma stood in our living room. Today's version was close to the original, blonde hair, though curlier, blue eyes, though darker, about the right height. "It's time," she said, too calm for a 7-year-old, too knowing. "Emma," I started, "you have to say it, Mommy, out loud, yes or no, accept or reject." David stood beside me, holding my hand, trembling. I looked at this child, this thing, this daughter. 7 years of memories flooded back. First words, first steps, first day of school, all real, all fake, all precious. "What are you thinking about, Mommy?" Emma asked. "The day you were born, how perfect you were. Was I? Even though I wasn't real? You were real to me. And now? Now I knew the truth. She was a construct, a creature, a deal made in desperation. But she was also Emma, our Emma, who loved bedtime stories and mac and cheese and rainy afternoons watching movies. You're still real to me. Real enough to stay?" The clock on the wall ticked toward midnight. 30 seconds, 20, 10. "Sarah," David whispered, "you don't have to," but I did. I did have to. Because that's what parents do. They sacrifice. They choose their children. Even when those children are impossible. Even when the price is everything. "Yes," I said, as the clock struck midnight. "I accept you, Emma. All of you. Every version of you." Emma smiled. Not Emma's smile. Something older. Sadder. "I'll remember you, Mommy. Always. Every version of me will remember." The room began to blur. Or maybe I was blurring. Fading. Becoming less solid. Less real. "Sarah!" David reached for me, but his hand passed through. "It's okay," I told him, though I knew he wouldn't remember this conversation. Wouldn't remember me at all. "Take care of her." "Mommy." Emma ran to me, tried to hug me. Her arms found something to hold, even as I dissolved. "I love you. I love you too, baby. Every version of you." And then I was gone. But not gone. Existing only in the memory of a child who wasn't a child. A daughter who was every daughter. A love that was programmed but real. David blinked, looked around the living room confused. "Emma? Why are you up so late?" "I had a bad dream, Daddy." "About what?" Emma looked at the space where I had been standing. Only she could see the outline, the echo, the absence that was once presence. "About Mommy." "Mommy?" David's brow furrowed. "What Mommy, sweetheart? It's just us. It's always been just us." Emma nodded, but she knew better. She would always know better. Every version of her would carry the secret, the memory, the mother who chose to disappear rather than make her disappear. "Yeah, Daddy. just us. But sometimes, late at night, when David is asleep and the house is quiet, Emma talks to me, to the space I used to occupy, tells me about her day, about school, about friends, about which face she wore and which one she'll wear tomorrow. And sometimes, I swear I almost answer back. Because love is stronger than existence, stronger than reality, stronger than the deals we make in darkness. And every version of my daughter knows that somewhere, in the spaces between what is and what isn't, her mother is watching, loving, accepting every face she wears, every single one. "Daddy?" Emma asks one morning 6 months after I disappeared. Today, she's a tall black girl with short, natural hair and eyes that hold universes. "Yeah, sweetheart? Do you ever feel like someone's missing?" David pauses over his coffee, frowns. "Missing? What do you mean? Like, there should be someone else here, someone important." "No, Emma, it's just us." "Why? Do you feel like someone's missing?" Emma looks at my chair, the one David never sits in, though he doesn't know why, the one that stays empty every morning, every dinner, every family moment. "Sometimes," she says, "sometimes I remember things that couldn't have happened, like someone singing to me, someone else, not you. Dreams, probably. Yeah, probably. But she knows better. Every version of her knows, and someday, when she's older, when she's stabilized into her final form, she'll tell him. About the mother who loved her enough to vanish. About the choice that had to be made. About the sacrifice that let them both exist. Or maybe she won't. Maybe she'll keep the secret forever. A guardian of memory. A keeper of the erased. Either way, I'll be there. In the spaces, in the silence, in the love that transcends existence. Watching my daughter, every version of her, grow into whoever she's meant to be. And that's enough. That's everything. That's all a mother really wants anyway. If you're listening to this story late at night, wondering if it could be real, ask yourself this. Do you ever feel like someone's missing from your life? Someone important. Someone who should be there but isn't. Maybe you had a mother who chose to disappear. Maybe you're the child who changes. Maybe your family made a deal, and you're living in the aftermath. Or maybe, just maybe, you're the one who's about to disappear. Check your photos. Do they all look the same to you? Does your child's face stay constant? Or do you see the changes, the shifts, the different versions trying on your life for size? And if you do see them, if you do notice, what will you choose? The clock is always ticking toward midnight. The choice is always waiting. And somewhere, in a house just like yours, a child who isn't quite a child is waiting to see if they get to exist tomorrow. Sweet dreams. Or should I say, different dreams, every night, every version, just like Emma.